Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Entrepreneurship Lab. This is your host, Nevin Abajalat, welcoming you once again to the podcast where we help you grow and scale your business. And like I always say, we learn nothing from success, we learn from mistakes. So today's topic is mistakes you don't want to make. Okay, so we're going to try to learn from mistakes of our next guest. His name is David Miller, and David is a very successful entrepreneur. He's certified scaling up coach and growth alchemist. And basically, he built companies, he sold his companies, he understands finances, acquired different companies, and he's going to share his story with us and he's going to share his journey and what he learned through it. He's coming to us all the way from Tennessee. So, David, thank you for being here and welcome to the show.
Hi, Nevin. Thanks for having me. And I don't think there's a better person to talk about failure than me. So I'm happy to jump in.
I love that. I love that. So tell us a little bit more about your journey, how you started as entrepreneur. Was this something always for you, or as you a young person, or what was your journey to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, it was interesting. Whenever I got through college as quick as I could, didn't want to go. I didn't really care whether I went or not. I just wanted to get out there and work. So my parents kind of made me fill out an application. So I graduated early and went to Atlanta and worked for corporate America for 5 years. I was in leadership and found out rather quickly that the entrepreneurial spirit doesn't mesh too well with corporate America. So we could just say that we agreed for me to leave. And I started a company during the financial crisis. And that was really the start of it. And one of the things that really I was really appreciative of, and I was unaware of at the time, is my wife had said, David, if you take this, whenever I had, let's say, parted ways, i.e., got fired, um, she said, David, if you take this job with Goldman Sachs, you can work another 80 hours a week, and short-term corporate memory, you can be gone after a year, 5 years, 10 years. And that really hit me hard because I took it really personal whenever I got let go. I thought I was going to be a quote lifer at American Express, my first company. I loved the purpose. They had a great brand, obviously, and loyalty is one of my biggest strengths and weaknesses. So I thought about that, and I'm like, you know what? I just need to do this on myself, about myself. I'd just gotten married, kid on the way. Why not build a financial business during the financial crisis, right? So that's where I started, and that's what when I started to figure out I was an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and it's really connected with me the same, like my entrepreneur spirit. My friends are always joking with me. I was always a great employee because they loved me because I've helped them grow their business. But I was just so frustrated with like I'm good at following the routine and doing things, right? Showing up on time. That's not an issue, but I always like to implement new things. And then there are many companies they don't like that. And also the team sometimes doesn't like that. And there are different struggles. So tell us a little bit more about this struggle because maybe some listeners are out there and they're not started their business yet and they feel they're not belong in their corporate world, and maybe this will be eye-opening for them. Like what was the things that you see as a difference of entrepreneur and someone who is good in the in corporate ladder?
I think that, as an entrepreneur, um, we one of our strengths and weaknesses is that we break down barriers that are inhibiting growth. So whenever you break down barriers, i.e., create new processes, remove a process, um, you're a catalyst for change, then that's going to cause disruption, albeit small, large, depends on obviously what is being changed. But whenever you go into a corporate structure where they have a defined way of doing things, and it's certainly not as hard to change things in corporate America as is the government, but if the government is even able to change. But it creates ripples. And even though it might be a long-term positive ripple effect, it could certainly be a short-term negative ripple effect for you as the person enacting that change. And when it comes to, the CYI aspect of management and their job career goes. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing is the catalyst for change and breaking things down to build them up.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. So tell us a little bit more about building a business during financial crisis. Was that a smart move? Was it a wrong move? How did it work out? And then, yeah, because we want to focus on some of your mistakes you learned. So we hopefully learn something from your mistakes as well. So share with us a little bit more about that journey when you started and at that specific period of time.
Yeah, so I had the unique, extremely lucky experience whenever I was about 20 years old. I convinced Warren Buffett whenever I was in college, me and one of the colleagues in the business school to buy a company in Oxley, bought it for about 1.8 billion. And in doing that, I learned a lot of different things and how that actually, Nevin, take a step back. Can you ask the question again? I'll make sure I answer it correctly.
No worries at all.
My
So
mind
I'm
wanders
saying,
like entrepreneurs, so I appreciate your
yeah.
patience. I had a clear point.
Oh, that is good. I ask about building specifically a business during financial crisis. For you, in your case scenario about financial company, was that a smart move or not? How did it turn out for you? And what were the opportunities maybe during financial crisis?
Yeah, so back to my story that I do remember now. Warren Buffett has, a lot of great sayings, and I follow him a lot. And one of the things he said is be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. So that I naturally have a contrarian mindset, and whenever I was let go from the financial world, and I went into the entrepreneurial world of finance, I I didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, we're going through a financial crisis. Everybody's fearful and scared. This is the best time to start a business. Like, granted, everybody's fearful and scared, doesn't want to take action, but at the same time, you got nowhere to go but up. So I had to work a lot harder to build my business during that time. And one of the things, I guess, one of my failures in starting is that, I was too fearful. I took things very cautiously. I didn't want to mess up. And it took me 15 years, actually about 12, 13 years to scale my business. So I scaled it over a period of about 3 years. But that first decade or so, I was just running my head against a wall, or banging my head against a wall. So whenever I sold that business and then started or acquired a very, very small startup, I scaled that to um, 8 figures within 3 years. So following a process, understanding it from experience, and failing is, in my view, obviously don't fail purposely. Learn from your mistakes. Don't repeat them. If not, that's on you and the definition of insanity, of course. But you know, failing forward and failing is the best way to learn in my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's part of the process. I think eliminating that fear of, failing like it's end of the world. I mean, you just learn from it and you move forward. So it's very important for every entrepreneur. And then tell us a little bit more. There's something you mentioned here in this process, right? So if you can go back to those 10, 12 years and you want to grow faster, what are some things you would do differently?
Um, Hire right from the beginning. Uh, Hire slow, fire fast. And it's at the end of the day, it's all about the people and setting a clear vision. Once that vision, the foundation is established. I mean, look, there's as you know, Nevina, there's enough business out there for everybody. And if you have a clear plan, you're executing the plan, and you're doing it with the right people, with the right purpose, the money's going to come, the revenue's going to come. And but that trite saying of, getting the right people on the right bus, in the right seats on the right bus, and then just start driving. And you do that and everything works out.
It's so interesting because we are almost close to 100 episodes, and so many entrepreneurs told me the same thing. Hire earlier because we want to do so many things ourselves. We feel like we don't have money to pay other people. And then also we feel bad to fire people. And everyone told me the same thing. Hire faster, sorry, hire, people, and then also fire people fast, sometimes even hire slowly, make sure to find the right match, but fire people fast. Don't keep the wrong people in your company. Just drain your energy, drain your money. It leads nowhere and takes away customers as well if they're not good at the job. So tell us a little bit more about, can you share some specific mistakes that you did in building your business? It can be regards marketing, sales, processes, whatever it is that's maybe a very interesting story and we can learn from it.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest mistakes on my first business was not the hire slow, fire fast, but hiring too many people too quick. At least in my experience, whenever you're integrating, so our company was the fastest growing financial firm in the Inc. 5000 that year. And we experienced explosive growth, and we launched, I think, 5 subsidiary companies, and or bolt-on acquisitions that year. So we were integrating new employees. We'd also opened up some new revenue streams, and I probably added about 7 key people, everything from adding HR to a new trader to a head of analysts, all different types of positions. And I didn't give the organization enough time to make sure that one person was able to acclimate with the group. So that group would then become solid, cohesive, and then bolt on another key component. And I think the saying goes, or I guess the wise man or woman's knowledge says, hey, if you're going to bring a new person onto an organization in a key role, give it about 6 months. So I threw that all in at once for, a half a dozen, however many positions I did. And it just overwhelmed the company and created a lot of confusion and not enough time to connect the dots.
Yes, and definitely. I mean, what I experienced also at consulting companies is that first we struggle to get customers and clients, but then when we experience this growth, exponential growth, and we have to hire quickly, and there are no processes to support, there is no hiring process, there is no process to train the people, there is no actually process how the job should be done. So people are doing things their own way, and like you said, you're opening branches, you're franchising, you're doing all of these things, so then it's absolute mess. Like you just bring these people, you increase your operating expenses, and things start going downside. So then you have to fix those things and be like, wait, let me press a break and see where do we start and where do we go back. Yeah, that's absolutely interesting. And then you sold their business, right? Was that the financial business that you sold? How was that experience for you? Was that like on your mind from the beginning, or that came later on? Like, did you build a business with a goal to exit and sell, or that simply came on the journey of it?
Yeah, so I'll answer that, but just to rewind a little bit to piggyback and waterfall on what you said, I completely agree with you. And we actually had the top grading process in play. We had the hire for core values, the hire slow mindset, and they actually on at face value, everything looked good. We just we hired too many people too quick. And you hear all these great processes, but if you miss one small thing, especially when you're growing a business and there's so much change involved, it can really wreck things. So I appreciate you saying that, recognizing the processes that need to be followed, because even if you do that right, there's still things you got to execute on the back end, in my
Yeah,
experience.
absolutely.
Yeah, and as Nevin, as far as your question, backing up to that is, it was I thought I was going to be a lifer again. I thought I was going to be a lifer in corporate America. I thought I was going to be a lifer with the company that I founded, and you know, through that 2 years of extreme change and growth, it burned me out. I was not spending time with family. I was not spending time with my boys. I was not spending time with my wife, and everything with business and personal started coming to a head. And it's then where I took a step back, and I hired a president. It took about 2 years to figure out I'd had a business coach at the time, and took a step back to figure out what I wanted to do. And ultimately, I sold the business because it was the best thing to do for my family. And blessing, it's the silver lining and all that was it was very painful, very emotional, like separating from your baby. That all the entrepreneurs that have sold here and that are listening completely understand that. Whether you get a check or not really has nothing to do with it. It's your baby, and that emotional connection cannot be explained in words. So yeah, but that opened up the door, me going through that grateful but painful process of starting a completely different industry. I was in the financial space and moved to the cannabis space and applied those same scaling principles to that realm. So yeah, that was kind of my experience in exiting.
Yeah, that's, I mean, everything leads us towards the next step. And sometimes those painful and uncomfortable and frustration is actually telling us, hey, you need to change something and move towards something new. So, David, as we're wrapping this episode, I would like with you to share with the listeners maybe one advice that you have about building a business that we haven't mentioned, or if you want to share any other mistake or something that we learned from you and your amazing experience, that would be great.
Oh yeah, sure thing, Nevin. Well, one of the name of my company right now is Alchemy at Scale. So how does that apply to the question that you just asked? And when I look at things like what does alchemy mean? And I'm not talking about turning metal into gold like the Alchemist did. I'm talking about personal alchemy. I'm talking about living your legend, making the smart decisions now, so you can live a purpose-driven life. And in order to do that with a business and in your personal life, it's having that balance, that contrast, that juxtaposition of the right brain, the left brain, the method and the magic, the logic and the creativity, and merging those two contrasting ideas whenever you're approaching something, that's gonna help you succeed. And that's having that holistic type perspective. So never stop learning, never stop challenging the norm, of course, like us entrepreneurs love to do. But at the same time, those processes and procedures, there's a balance to weighing those with, just building, 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 and creating.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for taking the time and sharing your story with us today.
Yeah, so glad and such a pleasure to have me on here, Nevin. I appreciate you.
All right. We thank you everyone for listening. As always, please subscribe if you haven't already. Share this episode with at least one person that can benefit from it. And give us some like, comments, hearts, and let us know what are some next topics you would like us to talk about. Thank you everyone for listening, and I see you in the next episode.